a chance. You goddamn crocodile! Go back to the fucking Florida! Go back to the Florida, you fucking crocodile!
Long,
Thank you very much for all of your lovely art as well. Some of it a little lewd. To those of you drawing me with horses, y'all are into some fucked up shit, and I hope you get the help you need. I really truly hope you get the help you need.
Welcome toสวัสดีกระมังกระเช็คตัวซันชาเนลูสต้นปะฮู Hi guys.
Hello, what up, nerds?
What's going on, everybody? My hair's kind of messed up today, but yeah, what's going on? Good to see everybody here today. Of course, we're ready for the legal mindset. We're going to be dropping a fat one, a great episode today on MSM talent. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of Twitter lawyering. So we're here to set it straight, to get the record. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for your patience as I set up my ersatz studio here. I am in the middle in the other room here. I'm like constructing an office. So that's happening right now. We're kitchen table mindset. But it's good to see you guys. What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to have a lot today. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be really interesting because I think in a way, we're going to thread this in a way where everybody is going to be, in a sense, right and also a little bit wrong. So we'll get to that when it comes to MSM, because obviously we have comments now from the dear leader of MSN, of Mad Scientist Media, Mad Scientist Talent. And we're going to get to that VTuber agency speaking out, some of the talent of that agency speaking out and clapping back, obviously against the allegations primarily of false side and some others that assert that the contracts aren't enforceable anymore. And in a way, they are both right? In a way, they're both right. But yes, it's very interesting. Good to see all you guys here today. Late mindset was also within an hour. Yeah. But it's good. Listen, every single time I'm getting ready, it's so I can have a better show for you guys. Patrick, Greg, good to see you guys. And good to see all the members in here. Oh, Crimbo. Good. I think I had one of your, I see Crimbo Kills in the chat. I think I had one of your tweets pulled up at some point. I did. I have one of your posts here pulled up. So yeah, should be a good one. Should be a good one today. I've never been so interested in learning about the law. Thank you. Thank you guys. And many of you guys got it right. I mean, just the thing is, I know that when there's two sides to something, everybody wants to be proven right. And everybody wants to say, hey, hey, you're fucking an idiot and I'm right? And that's not necessarily the way it's going to be. If you really look at it, what the talent in this is worried about, or what the talent would be worried about, is that their contracts are garbage, right? And they're not going to get paid. They'd be worried about that, right? So from that perspective, they will be worried. But let's give a little background, because I know that some people may be living under a rock. Some people may not know what's going on. So we'll give a little bit of background here. But before we get to that, I just have to say, we've got some absolute giga chads who are uber super.
Not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
So much. JP Ravenfire dropping 20 legal mindset memberships. One dickhead coming here spreading the D with 10 legal mindset memberships, and Fallen Hero 4567 with just a tip, a single legal mindset membership. But I still appreciate it. Just a tip still counts. Fallen Hero. So thank you so much, Fallen Hero, one dickhead, and of course, big JP Ravenfire. JP's in the chat for for these fine chads. You can drop some long mans for them. Drop a long man for them. For all these guys. Thank you so much. Your memberships help us do this on a regular basis and help me bring you guys exclusive membership streams like my last stream where we previewed this issue and others. And I know a lot of the folks that are on my membership streams got free memberships. So thank you for helping people get that exclusive content, which I am committed to doing at least once a month. But my goal is really twice a month to do two exclusive member streams per month on this channel. So thank you guys. Long mans are dropping in the chat. We're getting extra long for you guys. Let's just play it another time.
Long man.
And also, I will be dropping a locals chat for you guys who are my locals chat. So we'll be talking about those. So locals chats and Stacy's, you've got that up right about now if you want to talk over there. So that should be set up as well. All right. Billy Aoki says, extra long, you say. Yes. Repton says, I don't want to be proven right, just be proven based.
Hello, Beso Department.
Well, Repton, we already know that you're giga-based, so thank you for that. All right, let's start with a little background, though, because some of you may not know about MSM Media, and honestly, even for me, I was actually surprised with MSM Talent, this VTuber agency, how many folks they have under their umbrella. So for those that don't know, MSM Talent is indeed an agency, and they have a good amount of folks here. They've got was it Al Candy, Cabal. Cabal actually is one of the ones that responded, so we're going to get into that. Cottontail, Seiko, Over Easy Eggs, Vixora, Buff Pup, Heavenly Father, Nags, Juniper, King of Chaos, Hootie Hoo, Romy, Rosie Doodle, Froggy Lock, Lord Aethelstan, Porcelain Maid, Mihume, Jabroni, Orihime, Indra, Grimmy, Ghostly Sage versus Mimkibus, Sanagi Yuzu, Tob, Giga, Michael Winslow, Nanolis, Zoran the Bear, Fleshy, Eggsy, Alfria, Kuwait, RPR, Shiabun, Basil, Pumpkin Potion. We've watched a couple of her shorts here as well. Sigrid and Bird, and Vienna. All of them are members of MSM Talent. So they've got some folks. This is not something where it's like an agency with like one VTuber, right? This is not something that just has, Michael Winslow's my favorite VTuber. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. This is not where they just have one talent. They've got some people on there. People saying, I didn't know that one of Shoujo members was also part of this, nor Aethel, Buff Pup, or RPR. So there are some names on here. There are some names on this list. Now, you may not obviously know all of them, but you may know a couple of them. You may know 3, 4, 5 of them. I mean, that's still something. That's still folks that you know. So I think for this reason, I think people are a little bit more invested in this. Also, just so you guys see, their Twitter's over here, which they've got their X, MSM Talent, right? And this is where MSM Talent reposted this post, which was obviously in response to False saying agency lied to their VTubers, court records show agency contracts valid, owner being sued for debt, right? So we've already watched this video. So if you wanna get into that video, it's on my member stream. I may clip it out, so members can go back and watch that. But if you need background, you can go to False. You can watch this video. But now we've got a response from Seth. We have not watched this. So we are going to watch what his response is. Now, understand with Seth's response, I'm just going to analyze it for what are the legal points that Seth brings up. Is he making concessions? Is he stating facts? Is he stating a defense? Is he stating an excuse? Is this something that will excuse him legally, or is this something that is more for the eyes of the public? And Seth is obviously the head of MSM Talent. He's the one who is in charge here. So he's going to be making these statements. All right. So here we go with Seth's explanation. So this is the text, but he ends up reading it. reading it through. So we're going to go through this and we're going to pause this to give commentary when it comes to the legal points. Really not waiting too much to get into it today. I know sometimes I wait a little longer to jump into the issues, but today we're getting right into it, guys. We're not wasting much time because I want to leave some time for analysis and also some time for questions and maybe some clips too. Maybe some clips towards the end. So let's get started here.
There are accusations going around by a few individuals in our community aimed at me. Generally, it is my policy not to publicly address rumors within the industry. But in this instance, it's now going beyond rumors, affecting not just me, but it's also affecting my family and MSM talent. So I'd like to clarify some major points.
So by the way, his volume, it may sound a little low. That's not me. That's on his side. So he's got kind of a softer voice. So he's probably not speaking into the microphone. He's probably kind of shy about it. There's not much I can do to amplify this because it's not a YouTube thing. It's a him thing. And if you see right here, my volume on here is already maxed out with this. So this is like as high as it's going to go for this guy. So unfortunately, that's the best I can do, guys. Sorry.
Our Maryland LLC has been in the process of correcting its status with the state when our CPA passed away suddenly. This has been the source of a number of delays, and we've had to get assistance from a new tax and legal professional. The process has been restarted with the new tax professionals for months.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, so this is one thing he's doing right away. He is saying that right now he's making an admission that his LLC has been forfeited, that it is no longer valid. It is in bad status with Maryland, right? He's also saying that, and yeah, guys, I do use a volume boost on YouTube, but I don't have a volume boost for this. That extension just works for YouTube. It's YouTube specific. So anyways, Maryland, they're not in good status. So he's admitting that they are in forfeited status in Maryland. Now, is it a defense if your CPA died? The answer to that is maybe if you're brought in on the crime of possessing or operating under a forfeited LLC. So let's stop this for a second and let's talk about the crime that is underlying this, because this is actually in Maryland. This is indeed criminal. So under their 2023 statutes, they have dissolution for or dissolution, forfeiture, and restatement under Section 4A, 919, penalties for transaction business. So here we go. Any person that transacts business in the name or for the account of a limited liability company, knowing that its right to do business in Maryland has been forfeited and has not been restated. So right now, this is the thing. And the requirement is knowledge. It's not knowledge like and an excuse. It's just knowledge. So that's the one thing, knowledge. That it's been forfeited and not been restated, is guilty of a misdemeanor and on conviction is subject of a fine of not more than $500. A prosecution for this violation may not be insinuated after the date of the articles of reinstatement are filed. So if they file articles to reinstate it, they'll be okay. So once you fix the status of your business, you're no longer liable for this. Now, some might say, okay, well, knowledge. Does he have knowledge? Well, that we actually get from a separate statute, which comes under a different part of the Maryland statutes dealing with prohibition of operating after you're forfeited, which says in the same language, but also includes a presumption. The presumption is, unless there is clear evidence to the contrary, a person who was an officer or director of the corporation at the time it was chartered was forfeited is presumed to know about the forfeiture. So if Seth was an officer or director, which it appears he was on that, he would be a person who is liable for that. But if they're able to fix this quickly, which they should be able to do. Frankly, his excuse, and let's go back to his excuse here, and let's flip back to his comments. So his comment here is that, oh wait, this is the wrong one. Hold on, I've got this on a different one. Okay, got his comments in multiple places, guys. Okay, so right here, he says that the process has been restarted with new tax professionals for months. That's something that I'm putting a bunch of question marks on, because it takes like 1 day to fix your status with a LLC typically, or a week maximum. It does not take months to start an LLC or to restore an LLC. It does not take this long. It does not take months, right? Unless there's something else going on that is an issue other than just filing your status. The filing status with the state is typically just paying whatever fees you need to pay and then getting started. It's typically a couple $100. I used to have a Florida LLC, and I would pay for that one once a year, pay a couple $100, keep it in status, and that's it. If it's your tax filings that are an issue, well, that's a separate issue. That might involve you not properly paying your taxes, other stuff like that. So that might be an issue. So it seems to me like there might be a bigger tax issue here that's at hand, specifically because his CPA passed away. So it seems like the real issue is probably a tax issue. They probably have some unpaid taxes. That's the only thing that makes sense here. Because, I mean, Crimbo asks, does he have to pay taxes? It doesn't make sense for this to take months to restart unless there's unpaid taxes. So there probably are built up unpaid taxes, probably from fiscal year 2023, that are unpaid here, because otherwise you'd just be able to restart very quickly. Also, speaking of good financial decisions, thank you so much, Leprechaun Gold, for the $20 super sticker. Thank you. Wildcade says, how long was he in forfeiture? I don't want to speculate, but it looks like, based on this, at least for into fiscal year 2023. So I would say at least a year, right? Because there's tax issues here. There has to be a significant period of time, at least, we're talking 9, 10, 11 months. There has to be a period of multiple months. And at a certain point, there becomes culpability. Now, he may never get prosecuted by this because, frankly, the state does not prosecute these type of white-collar crimes, these type of minor infractions, super ultra aggressively. Typically, they throw these things on when there's other sorts of issues like fraud, etc., right? So are they going to go hunt down Seth for a $500 misdemeanor charge? Probably not. The state of Maryland probably has some better things to do. But that said, this is a deeper issue, and I would be extremely concerned about the tax issues, because if you've got back taxes, those could be a lot, especially for an agency. Those could be a whole lot of money. So that is something that is a big question mark there.
None of this has impacted talents' payments, as talents have always received any money they're owed. This has never affected our ability to work with sponsors.
Okay, let's full stop there. This is, I think, where we're going to see from Cabal, we're going to see some folks like that, where they say, our contracts are enforceable. Well, yes, in the sense that MSM Talent still has the responsibility to pay their talent. So even if their CPA died, which once again may or may not be a defense. Thank you, Leprechaun Gold, for the $4 super sticker. Appreciate you. Even if their CPA died, they still have to pay their talent. And even if the LLC was forfeited, they still have to enforce their contracts. Now, why is that? Why is that? Well, because it is in the interest of the state, the government, society, and it's also in contract law that we want to try to make contracts enforceable. So what they will do is, let's say that somebody wasn't getting paid. Let's say Vienna wasn't getting paid. And let's say she was mad, right? Let's say she was mad and she sued. Well, she would sue the LLC, which is forfeited. But in addition, she would sue the director. She sues Seth, the officers. And the officers would definitely, in this case, be held to be responsible for this. And in the case that someone was suing, they would absolutely look into, okay, do we need to charge this guy with a crime? Because now he's not paying, right? But that's in the case of them suing. So obviously you can continue to operate even if the state, I know this sounds crazy, especially for some people out there that are on the commie mindset, but you can operate without the government. I know it's crazy, right? People, here's a secret, guys. It's a little bit based, okay? I know this is a little bit. We can all survive without the government. I know it's crazy. I know. Hold on. I know it's insane. I know you don't need the government to do stuff. You can just do it. I know it's really weird, right? I know it's really weird to hear that, but it is entirely possible to just do things even if the government isn't involved by giving you a license or something else. You know, a lot of places there, you need a license to cut hair. You need a license to give a haircut. I know this sounds crazy, but nobody is going to jump out of the woodwork if you're at home in your private place of, where you live, and you're out in your apartment, you got the blinds closed, right? And you give somebody a haircut, right? You're not going to immediately have the handcuffs thrown on you and thrown in jail, right? It is still possible. I know what you guys are saying. CIA has entered the chat. FBI has entered the chat. Madness, right? I know it's crazy, right?
Hello, best department.
Anarchy, crazy. Yeah, exactly. Cribbo. I used to do street art and it doesn't get a license. Yeah, exactly. Once again, look, listen, guys. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do, and the government doesn't have to be involved. So yes, you can actually pay people, and the government doesn't have to get involved until there is a problem. Let me read some of these comments. By the way, I'm getting to them. Don't worry. I see Charlie was crying about his supa. Charlie, I'm going to get to your supa, okay? Your supas. I am probably the best at getting to super chats in all of, I'm going to say it. In all of YouTube, I get to super chats the fastest. I'm just going to say this. And the most contemporaneous. Responding himself is a rookie mistake. He should have made his talents make a black star. Oh no.
Disgusting.
No black scream. That is a 39 IQ Niji Sanji move. Definitely do not do black scream. Scythe in Media says, according to the state of Maryland record, it's been forfeiture in 2021. So the issue is there's probably 3 years of back taxes. And once again, so let's look at this from a certain standpoint. Okay, your CPA died. When did he die? Did he die in 2021? Well, then you had 3 years to correct this issue. Did he die in 2024? Well, then what happened to the other years? Was he a really bad CPA? That is an issue when he's been out of status for 3 years. And here's the thing. If there's something that came up now, or something that does come up, there's going to be an issue in court, because in court, and here is the part where everybody is getting this wrong. In court, there is an issue with being able to bring claims if you are forfeited. We're going to get into this, and I'm going to explain this like 6 times. But the issue is you cannot bring claims in court. So your entity cannot bring a claim in court if they are not a valid entity. If they are not valid and legal with the state, they cannot access the state system, the state courts. The only thing you could do to enforce a contract is you could call Uncle Jimmy, the Italian mafioso, and break some kneecaps. You could do some extra legal enforcement, but you cannot use the court system to enforce things if you are not a legal entity. So that is an issue. That's a big issue. Professor Keene says, will Maryland go after him on that charge? That might depend on who he voted for. highly unlikely unless a former talent does something. And actually, look, we've got Fululu. Now, of course, I'm taking Fululu at your word here. I don't know that much about you as a former talent or your situation. I'm just reading your super chat, okay? So just understand for the context of the clips and the clippers that will be clipping this. Former talent for MSN here who got removed this March. We had to ask for our payments, and payments are not transparent on how much we made. That's a problem. And we are going to go over the contract after we read all of this, because I've got the contract. I've got all of the contract, and see where there might be some issues with the contract given that it's forfeited. So we are going to go over the entire contract. We're just starting with Seth's statements here. And also thank you, one dickhead, for the 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for being such a giant dick. Wildcade says the IRS are a-holes. Fees and interest pile up while you try to fight the mistake. Just paying them is cheaper and easier than fighting them in court. There you go. So I don't know what their problem with the CPA is. Maybe they've been fighting this since 2001. I don't know. Now, it seems like their issue would be just with the state of Maryland, but maybe they've also got federal tax issues. That would be an even more complicated issue if they're fighting the IRS. Or although that is pure speculation. I have no idea whether that is true or not. Beautiful Origin said, would it be possible for someone to buy the LLC out from under them? What will be the consequences of that? You might be able to get the name, but I think there might be issues if they are actually trying to restore it. If they're actually actively trying to restore it, there might be some issues there. But you don't undertake everybody else's responsibilities if you were to get the name out from under them. So let's say that you had Based Inc. as your company name, was Based Inc. And somehow in a very unbased way, you let Based Inc. expire. Well, 5 years later, somebody else wanted to come over, maybe one dickhead, with his memberships. He wanted to come over there and buy Based Inc. Well, he could do that. And if you had a contract that was with your original Based Inc., that contract is not going to be enforceable against a new, different entity, particularly if that entity is doing nothing related to your business. They didn't actually buy out the business assets, the IP of the original entity. They've just come in and they're doing their own thing. Maybe Based Inc. was originally a car wash company, and now Based Inc. is a guns and ammo company. Well, obviously they have nothing to do with each other, right? Nothing to do with each other, unless it's an episode of Breaking Bad, in which case car washes and guns go together. TND for total Niji downfall. Well, this is not Niji, but it's Niji-esque. This isn't madness. This is Sparta. Thank you, Chaos Smash. Good to see you around, brother. And Jim Blade says government is essential business. Don't be based. No, can't be that based. Let's continue with this.
In terms of a blacklist, there is no blacklist. As managers, we will always keep track of potential bad actors and often warn talent, but we do not actively prevent talent from interacting with anyone. If our talent choose to collab with others, those decisions are made on their own.
Well, this is interesting about blacklists and whether or not there is a blacklist. There can be we strongly suggest you do not do this. I see that happening a lot where it's not like you're officially banned, but we're going to strongly suggest you don't work with these people. We're going to strongly suggest you don't talk with False. We're going to strongly suggest you don't go on the show with Rima, or you don't go on the show with Legal Mindset, whatever, right? That could be something that happens, right? It could be sort of like Offkai. Remember Offkai? What did Offkai say? Oh, we don't call it a blacklist. We just say you're banned from the venue and you can't come as your character, but as your pilot, as your person, you can pay us money. Yeah, Kirsha is not blacklisted, according to Offkai, right? So what people define as a blacklist, I think is pretty amorphous. So I think this could be one where they're both right. There's no blacklist because what they call a blacklist is just a friendly, strong suggestion that you don't, right? So that could be a thing.
Claims have been made stating that there were two entities being used for MSM, both Mad Scientist Media LLC and MSM Talent. They are the same entity. There's only been one Maryland entity for MSM.
Well, that could be an issue because are they working do they have a DBA filed? Now, I'm not a Maryland lawyer, right? But I will say this, you typically should have a doing business as. So if they've been doing business as Mad Scientist Media, but their entity is for, and they're then also doing business as MSM Talent, is that one entity, right? Is that filed? What were you contracting? We're going to look at the contract for what the entity is, right? So you need to make sure that all your legal documents are consistent there. That's very important.
Grinding Coffee Co. was a Black and queer-owned business. I was not in charge of this business, nor was I the majority owner. We rebranded due to the majority owner not being able to be more intimately involved, so we changed the branding. I can't get into the specifics for privacy's sake of those involved. Nonetheless, I'm on good terms with everyone from the coffee company.
Yeah, so it rebranded to Based Inc. Like, how I am like very curious. I don't know what privacy interests there are, but like, how does it switch over? Now, what could have happened? Maybe they got red pilled, right? Maybe. So what happened was at some point there was a company called Grinding Coffee Co., right? And it changed into Based Coffee Co. or something like that, right? So my question is, was it somebody that just got like red pill that just suddenly got based? It's possible. It's possible. By the way, I want to shout out this real quick. I want to shout out all of the people out there. And someone actually like gave me a better acronym. It's like GRSM. It's like gender, racial, sexual minorities, whatever. Actually, there's a lot of big style folks out there that are part of the alternative sexual orientation community that follow the legal mindset, that are listening to my channel, that are fans of this channel. And I'll say this, guys, you know, a lot of people sometimes wake up, and let's say you wake up and you figure out, hey, BLM, we've got BLM logos all over here. You know, we've got all these activist stuff. They were actually scamming people. And all of a sudden you start doing research and you start saying, you know what? This is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to listen to the people on the other side. Yeah, there we go. Sojourner, I'm gay. I listen to your stuff. There's a lot of folks out there that hit me up, right? And I've had a lot of good email conversations with folks on how I can cover stuff more responsibly, respectfully. And I really do try to find a respectful line when in my coverage, when I cover things. That said, it's very, very interesting. I really want to know, this is a genuine conversion? Because it could have happened. I actually will believe that someone could have said, hey, this is a grift and changed it over. Or was it just rebranded because of other reasons, right? Was it rebranded because they wanted to be Phase Connect? That's a joke. That's a joke. This is a joke, right? Okay, Leprechaun Gold, $10. Thank you so much, Leprechaun Gold. Very base today. Very base today. Zwierzu for 25 Polish zloty. Dzień dobry. Hope you're doing well over there. YouTube removed my comment where I said spreading communism in Poland is against the law. It is, and it should continue to be. Be careful though with Donald Tusk. That guy is definitely dangerous, in my opinion. That's a little bit of political mindset, but yeah, not a huge Donald Tusk fan. The Gun Club said, did someone mention opening a guns and ammo store? What's up, the Gun Club? Good to see you, bro. Appreciate you. Stay based. Shout out to the Second Amendment. America having it makes America so much greater. Wild Cade says, if he owes more than 20,000 state taxes, he probably owes 10 times in state and federal. That's the issue. So if he's owing like 20 or 30 or 40, 50, 10, I mean, guys, I've had tax people where we've gotten in a back and forth and we've been arguing over essentially like $10,000, $20,000 saying, you know, is this amount, is this something I have to pay or not pay? You know, what's your interpretation of this treaty or this statute or this provision? So I can see these guys, you know, if that's personal taxes, I can see this being something that may be owed in federal taxes. That could be a big, big, big thing. So yeah, can't see that. Can't see that. YouTube is breaking Polish law. Yes. Yes. That's hilarious. All right, let's continue here.
For Saucy Biz, a company does exist. It was filed months ago.
This is the hot sauce company. So they have a hot sauce company called Saucy Biz. And once again, if you haven't watched the false video, you can also watch the Asmon clip video. Asmon watched this video. So you've got Asmon Gold to watch. You've got that one to watch. You can go back to my member stream to get all of this, but they own a hot sauce business as context.
It's registered under a different name, and I do not own a majority stake. The listed PayPal transactions in the video can be seen as returned due to our team identifying the issue that PayPal processing system was incorrectly listing the payment details. This has been canceled and funds returned to the customer at the time to ensure the transactions were done properly. To resolve this matter, we had offered the customer their order at no cost due to the inconvenience. After this issue was resolved, no more payments were done through a PayPal payment process.
There you go. Well, hopefully that's the case.
In terms of the other LLCs mentioned, these were utilized when I was serving as an independent contractor at a number of different businesses to protect myself.
Okay, so it is smart to have LLCs to protect yourself when you're an independent contractor, right? It is important. And honestly, you should have one LLC for that. You do not need to have a different LLC for everything you're doing as an independent contractor. I don't know what he was doing here, why he needed so many, unless he had some really crazy requirements. Maybe there's something he had I don't know about. It would be irregular. Is it impossible? No. But why he was using so many LLCs is questionable, unless he had partners, unless there were other people's at interest. Now, here's his explanation for the next part. We're going to talk about this.
These LLCs are in forfeiture because I genuinely did not make use of them beyond what they were originally created for. After this, there was no reason to maintain the LLC.
Okay, so this is actually fine. Because typically there may be a time and when you have to pay each year for the LLC fees. There's a fee to create a new LLC. So he's just creating them, using them, and then dropping them. Technically, that's fine. Technically, you're allowed to do that. Technically, that's fine if that's the real purpose he wanted to do it. He's not doing anything illegal there. That's perfectly fine. Many people do that. I've done that with one LLC. But the reason why I did that with an LLC, I did it with a Florida LLC, was because it was a business venture with a friend, and they were a party. They were another director. So I no longer wanted to do that business anymore. We no longer had anything we were doing. We weren't really working on anything, or rather the other guy wasn't really doing any work. I was doing all the work, right? So I was like, you know what? We're just going to let this one expire because, well, it really doesn't matter, right? Like it really, really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to let that expire, right? But that's one, right? For my other stuff, I have another LLC. I'm not going to say what it is, where it is, whatever state, whatever, but I do have an LLC, but I generally use that for broad purposes for my contracting and independent consulting, right? And I've also got foreign businesses, but I'm saying in terms of US, right? One US based business, right? Which I use for all of the contracting. So it's that's usually sufficient. I don't know why you need a bunch of LLCs unless there's something going on with that particular business. So part of this is fine. Part of this checks out. Part of this, I have just some questions. That's all.
There have been claims that I endorse the doxing of individuals, and specifically that I would make threats to dox individuals.
Oh, real quick, before we get into doxing, what is based? Serious question. Well, let's just.
Hello, based department.
But I know you're asking seriously. I mean, for me, I just interpret it as grounding in fact, reality, and living in an evidence-based world that is not centered around your fifis or centered on how you wake up and your chakras align this morning. That's generally how I take that, grounded in facts and based in reality. Panther says, any chance you cover Rumble's $1 billion lawsuit against YouTube? How far has that gotten? Have they even filed a complaint yet? I'll have to check that out. Frankly, I need to see how far they get with that one. If they get far, sure, I'll cover it. Why not? I don't think there's any issue there.
This is a ridiculous and completely untrue statement. As a talent representative, I do not endorse doxing and actively work to prevent doxing of many VTubers and other community figures, as I believe it is a safety risk.
Yes, it is indeed a safety risk. Doxing is not cool. Now, do I know whether he has doxed people or not? No, I cannot. I can neither confirm nor deny this based on this information alone. I don't have enough to say, okay, has he doxed people or not doxed people or made threats, right? So he's saying he hasn't. Once again, further evidence may either demonstrate whether this is true or false. I don't have the evidence here today, and we're not going to go over this part today.
In terms of the tweet shown from 2016, I was a 21-year-old, and at the time, I thought it was something that was acceptable, when, for many obvious reasons, it was not. The posts were made out of what was then an attempt at overly cringe humor, which does not reflect on how I feel about anything.
Okay, so let me talk about this real quick. I'm actually, I'm pretty, as much as people think I may be a dick, and I'm actually willing, I'm actually sympathetic to people who will admit that they were wrong or did something stupid. So I'm willing to give it to you once, right? You get one of these. But if this is something that like keeps happening, right? Or then, I don't know, right? I'm willing to give it to you once. I'm very forgiving. But if it's something that is coming up or it's come up more recently, yeah.
I feel about anything. As for the Facebook account, my personal account has been hacked and relates to a situation completely separate from my current work. It's unrelated, but also a consequence of past mistakes, which I've been working to grow and improve from as an individual and as a business owner. As far as
okay, once again, I don't know whether facts related to that. Can't prove whether he was hacked or not hacked. So, can't say it as a bad thing. And yes, I do agree. By the way, I see in the chat people saying some people have made based into a bad word. No, I think it's a great word. I think it's absolutely great.
Where's the court date? This is a personal matter that has nothing to do with MSM and its finances. The personal matter had been something I was not fully aware of because I was moving, but has been promptly resolved with the collection company.
So he had some things he had to pay off and he paid it off. So he's showing he paid it off. Okay, cool. Well, you paid off whatever you had to pay off. That's fine. I mean, all right.
In regard to False's statement around claims against him, as a talent representative, I always have to have the best interest of my talent at heart, which will at times mean being the guard that has to give warnings to people who wish to interact with them. It often makes me a bad guy to others. Ultimately, my goal is simply to protect my talent.
Well, once again, I'd have to go back and check the statement, but he needs to be very careful that he's not entering into defamation territory, particularly as False is like running a business. So these guys, I mean, they're both running a business. So, I mean, to be clear, False has to be careful that he doesn't make statements that are untrue about MSM, and MSM has to make sure they're not making untrue statements about False, right? So they need to do a good job and a due diligence with each other and looking at each other's statements. In a way, though, and we're going to get into this, particularly when we get into the battle between some of his talent and pushing back against this. There is a goal, but you want to make sure that when you are protecting your talent, you're not saying things that are untrue. You're not making false statements. That can be a big problem.
MSM creators have the ability to leave at any time with no repercussions. As far as has been communicated to us, talent have enjoyed working with MSM. And we've done everything we can to rectify any issues brought to us, and we will continue to support them where we can. Ultimately, our talent satisfaction is our top priority. I've been seeing this all unfold, knowing that the thing that makes this as bad as it is are my past mistakes. I'm seeing my colleagues, friends, and talents harmed and caused unnecessary stress and fear. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted. I've worked for the past 3 years with our goal to build a place for talent to grow and accomplish their dreams, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to help this industry in any way that we can. Asmongold was right. I was a hustler, working my...
Okay, so Asmongold called him, to be clear, Asmongold called him a hustler and said that he would move from thing to thing to thing. And it's not bad to be like hustle culture. It's a big debate. Like, is hustle culture good or not? Now, I'll put that... Let me put a poll in the chat. This is actually very divisive. Is hustling good or bad to you? I just want to know. So good, bad. I just want to know your gut reaction when you hear the word hustling. Do you automatically think it is a good thing or a bad thing? What's the feeling you get? And yes, I'm asking you how you feel about a word. I know, but I'm doing this knowingly. I'm doing this knowing that I'm asking you your gut reaction, because people do react to it differently.
My ass off trying to accomplish something and making a metric ton of mistakes along the way. But what we've built over the past 3 years is an amazingly talented team of staff that have molded MSM into the well-run talent management company it is today. I've learned from my past mistakes and have channeled that work ethic into this project. We've worked hard to ensure that the careers of everyone involved in MSM can grow. Thank you for listening to my side.
Okay, so I want to tell you right now, guys, I am a little bit more sympathetic. I'm a little bit more sympathetic to this, because he actually says he was wrong and made mistakes. So I just want to say that I do want to incentivize. I think people should admit they make mistakes more. And to me, too many people, especially on the internet, try to pretend they don't make any mistakes. I've made mistakes. Other people have made mistakes. People fuck up. We're all human. We make mistakes, right? So I am more sympathetic towards him because he admits he made mistakes, right? Now, some of the things he was accused of were, well, in some cases, potentially criminal, right? But even we talked about how it is technically, once again, let's pull this down and let's go back to our Maryland law. It's technically criminal to not keep your company updated, right? It's technically a misdemeanor, which is a misdemeanor is a type of crime, right? To transact business when you know it's been forfeited, right? And as an officer, director, you're presumed to have knowledge of that. So, you know, there's some things he's accused of, and I understand why he doesn't want to fully directly admit to them, right? Although in terms of knowing about the company being forfeited, it seems like he did admit to that. But at least he's saying, hey, look, you made a mistake. So to a certain extent, there's that. Now, is he admitting to everything? No, certainly not. Certainly not. So that's not a full confession saying, you know what, False was right, Asma was right, I 100% did all the bad things. No, what he's saying is he was working hard, right? And it is commendable to a certain degree. Let's see, it says define the word hustle. Well, that's the whole point. People define hustling differently. The naughty definition of hustle is somebody who scams you. There's some people who think hustle means scam, meaning, oh, I'm selling you something. But then there's the hustle culture side, which means working hard, grinding, right? Getting on your grind, working really, really fucking hard. That can be important. And there are times in your life where you do need to hustle. You do need to get on it. You do need to push yourself, particularly I think when you're younger. You need to do that. You really need to get on that and work your ass off. So there's good and bad, right? And in the chat right now, I'm seeing that 63% of you have a bad connotation of it, which you're probably thinking when you think of hustle, things like scamming, right? Things like people, maybe even grifting. People feel the same word about the word grift. Daquan. Hey, Legal Mindset, you're slaying these legal dots with your analysis. Keep it based. You know it. We're at 1337 viewers. So all of you elite viewers, smash the like button, guys, because we're not done. We haven't even gotten to the documents yet or some of the pushback. So get ready for that. We're going to get into that in a second. Allegedly is a good word to know. He needs to use that word very carefully. Yes. Well, at least he admitted he was slimy. He admitted he made mistakes in the past. I don't think he used the word slimy, but I think he did admit to making mistakes. Yes. Sean said, I've worked under a number of tech companies where the mantra is move fast and break things. I have respect for hustling in the business sense, but you have to respect law and people. Yes. There's hustling without hurting people. If the only thing that's getting hurt is your sleep schedule, I'm okay with it. If somebody else is losing money, if somebody else is being harmed, that's no longer hustling. That is abuse, potentially, right? Carrie Dobbs says, you can leave at any time without repercussions. Seems the doth protest too much in this, in my opinion. I hope the talents are okay with this. Well, we're about to look at the contract. In the contract, can they leave anytime? Stay tuned, guys. We got 12 pages of contract to get through to talk about. Also, I did see a non-disclosure agreement. Now, The non-disclosure agreement was very standard. It's just very basic. It's nothing really to write home about, so we're not going to need to go through all of that. But I did also get a separate source. I have 2 anonymous sources that gave me these documents. One gave me an NDA, one gave me a contract, right? But they kind of back each other up because you can see the similarity in entity. Billy Aoki said, you keep saying potentially criminal, but where's Sean? Where's Sean? No, Sean is on his own stream, but we're good friends. Sean's a friend of mine, so we might have him on one day. One dickhead says, 2, I'm an old guy, 62. You know, hustle means get off your ass and make some money. Yeah. And to a lot of people, when you say hustle, that's what it means. It means get off your ass and go make money. And I like money, so that's good. I don't like outright scamming, says Canuckers. Shout out to my Canadians for 5. Says, so much for as greasy wannabe influencers. It's the reason why I despise most realtors. Lots of confidence and no competence. There's a reason why realtors typically are better at speaking. It's because they have to kind of convince you, right? They have to persuade you. There's a little bit of that sale in there when it comes to real estate. That said, got a lot of people I know that are realtors that are okay people, they're fine people, but they've got to sell you, right? That's part of the game. All right, so what happened here? So obviously people were pushing back, and you had people like Cabal, the horror VTuber, pushing back here. And this one is courtesy of Crimbo, who's actually in the chat right now. He responds on the side here, but let's read Cabal saying here. Cabal says, first, Maryland law. Second, the LLC has been renewed in a different state. You were misled. So this is the state where Cabal was getting into, okay, you were misled. Crimbo responded, I'm starting to see why VTubers like Cabal were so easily duped. The case law states isn't the LLC is valid and everything's fine. It's saying you are culpable if someone wants to sue you. This is a very important distinction. This is what Cabal, he got right and he got wrong. So here's where Cabal is right. So let's show there's a different reading of this. This is from a Maryland attorney, and we're just going to pull up this real quick. So this is an explanation. So you've got a forfeited LLC. Okay? Under Maryland law, your entity does not legally exist. So let's think about this for a second. If Cabal was completely right, if you could just operate without registering with the state, why would anybody register with the state? If there was no penalty for registering with the state, or no penalty for not, just you could do anything without a license. If paying the state money did not matter, why would anybody do it? Well, the truth is it does matter. So Cabal is right that you can be sued. So under Maryland law, your entity does not exist until you get sued. Many LLC members do not realize they can be forced to defend a lawsuit against the LLC even after forfeiture. But what if you want to sue someone else? The Court of Special Appeals versus Upper Chesapeake Health Ventures, and I looked up this case and verified this myself. I did this morning. Recently upheld a dismissal of a case on the basis that the LLC plaintiff was forfeited and had no legal standing to bring a case. Moral of the story, if you want your LLC to bring suit against someone, make sure the LLC is in good standing before a suit is filed. File your back personal property tax returns, submit articles of revival, then bring suit. Or better yet, make sure you set a yearly reminder to file your personal property tax returns. This is what happened. He probably didn't file his taxes. He probably got screwed on his taxes. So this is where he lost out, and this is where he is wrong. This is where Cabal was wrong and Crimbo was right. Crimbo is right that you cannot sue aggressively, but you can defend yourself, right? And that's also part of due process. So are the contracts valid? Well, yes and no. Let's look at the contract. We're now going to look at the contract itself, okay? because it's important to actually look at the contracts and actually see what they say. So let's go out. I'm going to pull this up here. Starting at page number 1 of the contracts. This is a talent management agreement. It has been redacted, so it is not involving any of their special private information here. We've got talent management between MSM Media under the laws of Maryland and the artist, which has been blacked out, who's an individual over the age of 18. So these guys are not Factor. They're not they're not whatever other people, other agencies contracting people underage. They're contracting people of age, right? So you've got that here with MSM Talent. The manager is the provider of management services, and the artist seeks to engage the manager to obtain a service. Well, simple enough. Your contracts don't need to be complicated. This is perfectly fine from a legal standpoint. Now, therefore, in consideration of mutual covenants and agreements herein and other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged, the parties agree as follows. This, by the way, checks off a box in contracts called consideration. Every contract has to have something called consideration, meaning there has to be things exchanged between both parties. This is a boilerplate standard term in almost all contracts because it is checking off the box, check, of consideration, saying this is a valid contract because you have two parties, you have mutual agreement, and you have consideration. So this checks off that box. Definition says an agent, any individual, group of individuals, entity, or group of entities who are engaged to solicit the commercial exploitation of the artist's service, name, image, likeness, and brand. So these are definitions. So artist means pretty much anybody who's doing art stuff. Games industry, all services and activities related to the game and video game and tabletop industry. Gross income is including fees, royalties, bonuses, shares of profits, stock, partnership interests, directly or indirectly by the artist received on their behalf in any way related to their services. Gross income does not include revenue generated directly from streaming or social media, including donations, subscriptions, bits, personal engagements. Let's go to page 2. Okay, it doesn't want to go to page 2, so hold on one second so I can open up page 2 manually. Okay, here we go. All right. This is going to get annoying though. Okay. It wants to go the other direction. Okay, got it. Okay, so page 2. Here we go. The contract wants to go backwards. Doesn't want to go forwards. So regressive. All right. Third-party engagement. So gross. When we talk about gross income, it does not include third-party engagements or any existing agreements for engagements that were in effect prior to the execution. So meaning if this person had an agreement with another agency or another sponsor and that was predating this, that would not be considered as the gross income. Real quick, I'll get this super chat. Rare and Recruit says, I'm working at Crumble Cookie, serving elderly in a restaurant, learning welding in school. Sounds like a good hustle to me. Yeah, Rare, and you're doing a good job, bro. That's definitely hustle, man. While you're learning a trade, you're working, you're making money, and you're helping people. That's always great. Yosame says, never filed annual report since forming in 2019 per SDAT, which includes paying the yearly LLC fee. Takes a minute to fix on the NBA website. If you pay, there may be tax issues, Yosame. That's, I think, the bigger issue. I think there's tax issues that are going on here, specifically with Maryland and perhaps with personal property tax there. Perhaps speculation, but I think good speculation. So media, all services related to television and film, not related to promotion, on-screen appearances, acting, guest appearances, advising, commercial, music industry, all services related to music, including but not limited to promotion, music production, mixing, mastering, live events appearances, guest appearances, collaborations, and personal and commercial productions. These are very standard definitions, which seem to be pretty accurate as to media and music industry. Personal engagements, meaning engagements the artist is managing on their own behalf without assistance of the manager's services. So this would seem like something that's going to fall outside. The streaming industry, all services, platforms in any way related to live streaming of content, including, for avoidance of doubt, but not limited to Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So the main streaming platforms. Third-party engagements, meaning engagements secured by a third party like an agent in which the manager does not provide services. VA industry, all services and activities in relation to podcasts, audiobooks, commercial voice acting, audio production and mixing, TV voice acting, movie picture voice acting, and any other exploitation of their voice acting abilities. This agreement is in effect for 1 year and shall automatically renew for periods of 1 year thereafter until it's terminated. Either party may elect not to renew the agreement upon notice to the other party with 30 days, with at least 30 days prior to the expiration of the term. Manager shall reasonably inform artist of a renewal date within 60 days of such. Okay, so either party at the end of the year term, so it's renewing from year to year, an automatic renewal, which is very standard. Automatic renewal. This is normal. I would write a contract like this. I've written contracts like this. I actually prefer 2-year blocks. I think they tend to be better, but 1 year is fine. It's automatic unless you say so. So you've got to give at least 30 days notice before that, but you know what the date of the contract is, so you're able to come back and say that. That's actually it's actually not a bad thing. That's actually not a bad thing. So this is not yet Niji Sanji level. Right. So once again, this is not some sort of crazy termination clause. Non-exclusivity. So the agreement is non-exclusive. The artist may attain similar management services so long services under this agreement are not impaired. So they are allowed to go out and like, seems like they can work with VShojo or somebody else. So it seems like that's there. Artists shall timely notify manager when such additional services are secured to determine whether collaboration is required. Okay. So if you've got a pre-existing contract, they really don't talk about that. But afterwards, right, because they've said anything that was before, they can't touch. That's not included. But anything after, they are, should be given some time when you are securing other resources. That's not unreasonable. Territory of the manager's representation is worldwide. This is important because VTubing is going to happen all over the world. Management encourages the artist to find alternative assistance for work outside the U.S. So they're saying, hey, we're primarily a U.S. thing. So if you're working outside the U.S., go elsewhere. This is not bad. This is actually not bad at all. It's kind of positive so far. Management says artist hereby retains manager as their non-exclusive representative throughout the territory. So we're talking about, worldwide, right? So for management, representation, advising, and streaming VA games, music, and media, and any other industries they wish to engage manager on during the term and any extensions thereof. Managers shall render such services as are usually performed by an artist's personal manager, but not limited to advising them during negotiations of employment or exploitation of the talents on products, supervising their employment engagements on their behalf, consulting with employers and prospective employers for proper use and demand of their services, being available at reasonable times to talk about their career, business interests, employment, publicity, advising on exploitation of the brand in all media and in connection thereof, subject to the artist's approval or direction to permit for the purpose of trade, advising, and publicity, the use, dissemination, reproduction, and publication of all the artist's intellectual property and publicity rights, such as their trademarks, copyrights, name, likeness, facsimile, signature, voice, and artistic and musical materials. At the artist's direction and subject to the artist's approval in each instance, engage in discharge or direct the artist's agent, as well as other third-party service providers for the benefit of the artist, collectively the services. All right. Okay. And then artists in their sole direction may submit personal engagements or third-party engagements to the manager for advising thereon and for the performance of the manager's services related to thereto. So accordingly, by definition, such matters shall thereby cease to be personal engagements or third-party engagements, and all revenue shall be treated like gross income. Because remember, if you are doing something personally or third-party, that is not income that they're collecting. So once again, they're not collecting income on things that are third-party or things that are personal. By the way, welcome to all the Raiders. I know there's some people who just joined Raiders out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sparky, welcome. Shout out to Sparky. Appreciate you, Sparky. Sparky, appreciate your shout outs on Twitter the other day. Senpai notices you. And we do not give oxygen to trolls on the legal mindset. Marksman of 117B says, I've tried crumble cookie, a bit sweet, but a good. Yeah, very good. Fu Lulu says multiple MSM contracts, mine included, started artists regardless of what they put on talent for. Is that normal for a creator that is an artist? Yes, they can label you as an artist, right? I mean, artist is a broad word. So artist is something that applies super broadly. So you can use a term to describe someone, even if that isn't technically what they are. So for example, a contractual definition can call you whatever. If I want to write a contract, okay, we're going to write a quick contract, right? So I'm going to write a contract right now. We're going to write one in WordPad. Let's do this. Okay. We're going to do live contract drafting. You ready for this? This is how hard this stuff is. This is how difficult, and these 39 IQ monkeys at Nijisanji can't even do this stuff. All right, we're over here. Okay. This contract is between Legal Mindset, hereinafter defined as the Chad, right? And his community of YouTube supporters, hereinafter defined as the based, right? We hereby contract to only drop the hottest facts with evidence and maybe some waifus. Okay, there you go. Okay, so there we go. There's a contract. I can just make that up, right? Regardless of whether or not you want to be called based or not, whether or not I want to be called a chat or not, right? You know, it doesn't matter. You can just define it as whatever you want. I could put it as the dear leader, right? And the cult, right? You are now part of a cult, you know, contractually, right? Contractually. See how easy this is, right? Oh, somebody in the chat wants it the other way. Okay. Somebody wants it that way. Okay. The E-boy. Actually, we'll upgrade to E-man. E-man, right? However you want to call it, despite of whether you want to be called a simp or not, right? That right? However you want to be called. It doesn't matter. You can define these terms. As long as you are consistent, in the document, it's okay. And you can use these terms like that. There's nothing magic about them. You can change them just that easily. I know it's crazy, right? It's really crazy. It's that easy. But contracts are not magic. They're not something that is crazy. As long as they're consistent and they're internally consistent, it's okay. You can use whatever defined term you want. Sometimes defined terms don't make sense. Sometimes they really frustrate me because I'll read a contract and they really don't make sense. It's okay. 1,337 people watching and only 529 likes. What are you talking? Chat, smash the like button right now. You don't deserve me.
You don't deserve me. You don't deserve me. You wouldn't be able to handle me. I'm too powerful for you. My GFE is too strong for you, chat.
Guys, come on. Pump those numbers. Those are rookie numbers. Let's get them up. Let's get it up right here. We get at least 500. Let's get at least 500. At least 500 right now. We're okay. Now we got over it. We got 526. Finally. Now we go for 750. Appreciate y'all. All right, let's continue with this contract here as we read about provisions. So far, this is a very fair and standard contract. Once again, I never want to be confused of looking at things and thinking that this contract is like, oh, it's all Niji-sanji. No, this is so far not that crazy. Artists must consider any proposed advice and or an activity suggested by manager in good faith. What does this mean? Must consider in good faith. Does that mean you have to adopt it? No. But that means you can't just automatically reject it in bad faith, meaning you say, oh, well, because you suggested it, I'm automatically going to turn it down. It's very hard to prove good faith. So that's why things are typically required. And this is something that is very difficult to prove in court, right? About are you cooperating in good faith or not, right? But this is what this means, right? So you must consider advice in good faith. Okay. Using artists' reasonable business judgment after conducting reasonable due diligence on the advice and activities proposed by manager. Nevertheless, artists shall have the final approval. So the VTubers are having the final say. And shall not enter into a contract or binding agreement without artists express written approval. Okay, so the management cannot unilaterally do it. If this was Niji Sanji, this would be written the other way around. Manager and artist shall keep each other reasonably informed. That doesn't mean completely informed, reasonably informed of all material matters relevant hereto. This is very fair. I like this. This is actually a very good provision. It's very good. Manager services shall include the collection and receipt of all gross income intended for artists and deposit or cash any and all checks and other negotiable instruments of any nature and deduct therefrom, and retain any and all sums due to manager, compensating and paying out of gross income all sums due to third parties who rendered services to or on behalf of the artist or who are otherwise contractually entitled to such compensation. And the right to demand, collect, and receive all goods, money, and other items that may belong or be due to the artist. Manager services shall not be exclusive to the artist. Nothing herein shall be construed as limiting the manager's right to represent other persons whose talents may be similar to or who may be in competition with the artist, or to have and to pursue business interests which may be similar to or compete with those of artists. Manager shall use its best efforts to exercise fair and reasonable business judgment in the circumstances. So once again, they're not limiting the rights on either side. The artist is not limited. The manager is not limited. This is very fair. Compensation. Here we go. Here's the money, guys. Here it is, the money shot. Also, 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Speaking of money shot, thank you so much, Douglas Diaz. DD's in the chat. Thank you. J. Meister JPD said, just like the video, please don't anger the Chad. Never anger the Chad. I pressed it and the number went down. Bugged. No, it should go up. It should go up. And Einhander said, comrade, do not forget the clause about cleaning Vox Tenga after use. We will not forget clause. We will get back to Vox Tenga. We will get back to Vox Tenga. Okay. Compensation. 15%. Managers shall receive 15% of gross income. As specified, gross income is determined in relation to engagements where the manager performed services. Honestly, guys, to be honest, that's pretty fair. That's not a horrible percentage. The management receives in 15, which means the artist received 85%. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good, to be honest. That's not horrible. Artists shall, and by the way, here's what happens. If you're not getting, you don't feel like you're getting that worth it, that's not worth it, then you would disengage them. You would cut them out, right? So after a year, fire them, right? But 15% is not horrible. Artists shall direct any third party and to make payments of all gross income directly to manager. Following the receipt of gross income, managers shall deduct the fee and remit the remaining sum to artists within 14 days. In the event that any gross income is received by artists shall pay the manager the fee within 14 days of receipt. So it's a payment requirement. So meaning if anything was received directly by the artist, so anything was like, let's say, PayPal directly to the artist, they've got to pay back that 15% within 2 weeks, which is reasonable, upon receipt. Right. So once again, pretty reasonable term. All right, 5. Managers shall be entitled to the fee for all gross income received by artists after the terms for matters of engagements in which the manager is providing services. In the event the artist receives stock, membership interest, or membership units as part of their gross income, managers shall be entitled to its fee upon the liquidation thereof, as taken from the value of liquidation, regardless of if such liquidation occurs during the term or not. So this needs to be paid out when you sell the stock or membership, right? In the performance of the services, manager may incur related expenses subject to artist prior approval. By the way, if I had a clause like this about stock and I expected the stock to go up, what I would do is this, ladies and gentlemen, if you receive stock and you expect that stock to go up, I would immediately, upon receival of the stock, sell the stock, liquidate it, and then buy it back. Because you're going to gain more by immediately liquidating those shares and giving them the 15% now and then keeping later. This is obviously hashtag not financial advice. That's just what I would do, because that would fulfill the contractual clause. Because if you, as soon as you liquidate the first time, you sell it to them, then you buy it back and then it rises. Right? Then the stock rises. Sigma play. Emperor Creatine says, as Steven Spielberg produced cartoon Freakazoid once said, always ask for a piece of the gross, not the net. The net is fantasy. Indeed. Always the gross, never the net. Very true. Charlie Spur said, heck, that's better than YouTube. Yeah, YouTube takes 33%. So it is better than YouTube. Now, are they doing as much for you as YouTube? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, YouTube's the platform itself, though, so you kind of can't get around the platform itself. All right, let's continue. In the performance of the services, manager may incur expenses subject to the artist's prior approval in writing. Such expenses shall be reimbursed to manager from the gross income, in addition to the manager's fee. So this is very fair, but mind you, look, compare this to Niji Sanji, guys. Who's taking the burden here? In this case, the manager is taking the burden, not the artist. Much different than Niji Sanji. So the manager shall provide the artist with all receipts and invoices regarding such expenses, subject to reimbursement. So in fact, this is how Niji should do it. They should be the ones that are incurring the expenses, not the talent, right? Not the talent. So very interesting. Intellectual property. Artist hereby grants to manager all rights necessary for manager to utilize artist name, logo, images, and video, and other non-confidential information. At times, such as manager may need to reasonably designate in furtherance of manager's performance of its services. So manager can use it for them. For any avoidance of doubt and in accordance with such terms, manager shall retain any and all rights into such derivative works only. So manager can create derivative works and they have a license for that. But otherwise, all the IP is to them. So manager can create derivative works. And if it's created by the manager, then it is the property of the manager. Very fair, very normal, very good contractual term there. Booking agent. It is understood and agreed on by the parties that obtaining employment, sponsorships, appearances, commercial engagements for artists by manager is not an obligation to manager under this agreement. A manager is not an employment, theoretical, booking, or talent agent. This is important because in many states, such as California, you have to be registered with the state if you are a talent agent. So let me say that again. If you are a talent agent, a booking agent, an employment agent, or a theatrical agent, you need a license from the state. And since they claim that they're operating worldwide, they're operating in places like California and other countries, which will require you a business license, et cetera, for that. So even though they're doing those things, they're not, because it's kind of weird. If you look at the previous pages, let's go back to like what they're doing in the previous pages. If you look at the services, let's look at this, right? So they're advising the agent on negotiations related to employment and exploitation of the talents and products. That sounds a lot. Advising them related to their employment and their exploitation of talent and products. That sounds a lot like obtaining employment. If you're advising them on that, This is the part where I say, guys, in the long run, I think government will regulate VTubing agencies and will regulate VTubers because they're kind of doing the thing, even though they're saying they're not doing the thing, right? So this is why I think in the long run, eventually people like the regulatory bodies are going to get smart because eventually they're going to look for money and they're going to look for regulation because that's what always happens eventually, right? When you know the boomers are out and people who and by the way, shout out to my boomers out there that understand this, but a lot boomers that are based and understand VTubing, you will understand that many don't understand how VTubing works and don't get it, so they don't know how to regulate it yet. When Gen X, millennials, and certainly Gen Z is in charge and they're working there, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we know how VTubing works, and we're going to regulate that," because they're going to want money because they're going to want to pay themselves. Right? That's what the government does. Government does that very well. So I think eventually they'll come down on this, but for now, this is because they want to get around licensing regulations. The manager has not offered or attempted to or promised to obtain, seek, procure employment or engagements for the artist. If so directed by the artist, manager shall provide assistance as reasonably necessary with the scope of manager's services to their agent in negotiations with third parties for the purpose of obtaining engagements for the artist, in which event compensation to be paid to the agent shall be paid by the artist in addition to compensation payable by the management hereunder. So essentially saying if they're working as an employment booking agent, like they're working in that capacity, they're going to be owed an additional compensation, even though they're sort of advising on it anyways. All right, now we're back to termination. So we've already got term and we've already seen a termination clause. So they can both already, we've already seen in an earlier section that this is a 1-year contract which renews year to year, and they can deliver notice that it will not renew within 30 days of that yearly date. But in addition, so above and beyond that term, so the term was already in there. They didn't need to put any of the rest of this in here, but it's in here. Either party can terminate upon 30 days written notice. So 30 days notice, they can terminate. Very good termination clause. I like that. For any reason, just 30 days notice. The agreement is terminated immediately upon written notice by a party if there's a material breach of the agreement. If there's a material breach of the agreement which is capable of being remedied but fails to be remedied within 30 days. If somebody is declared bankrupt, charged with a felony, so you're a criminal, or if you commit an act which may be considered immoral, deceptive, scandalous, obscene, which may injure, tarnish, damage, or negatively affect the reputation or goodwill associated with the non-offending party. That's immediate termination grounds. These are very standard, very normal. For the avoidance of doubt, in any event of any termination of this agreement, artists shall have all rights to continue any business relationships with third parties which were previously managed by the manager. So even if this is terminated, the artists can continue with all their other business relationships. Accounting. Upon the request of the artist, no more than once per year during the term, management shall provide the artist with an accounting specifying all gross income received by manager on behalf of the artist in the last 12 months, specifying all deductions and payments, all expenses incurred on behalf of the artist, manager fees, loans, advances, and other funds from gross income received by manager during the accounting period. So you can once a year request an accounting. That's a very important provision. You do need to do that if that is in your contract. Definitely do that. In the event that artist receives any gross income, artist shall be deemed to hold manager's fee in the amount that equals any distributions incurred by manager on behalf of artist in trust, pending payment to manager in accordance with terms herein. They talk about in trust because you're a fiduciary. So if you have a fiduciary duty to guard that trust, to guard that money on behalf of the manager, and if you don't do that, that is a breach, right? Even depending on the state, could be potentially criminal breach because you are creating a trust in behalf of that person. Upon reasonable request of the manager, no more than once per year, artist shall provide manager with an accounting specifying the amount of gross income, if any, received by the artist or by any other party on the artist's behalf in the prior 12 months. So they may have to provide an accounting because if they're holding money in trust. Assignment. Manager may assign this agreement or any rights thereof only to a business which manager is a principal. So they can't just assign it off. They could assign it to another one. Now, this is an important clause. Why is this an important clause? Guys, what does this mean? Manager may assign it. So right now, their business is forfeited. They're looking to start potentially a business in another state. So what potentially could they do? They could assign the contract. The manager may be able to assign the contract. Artists may not assign this agreement without manager's consent except to a loan out company of which the artist is a principal. So manager may be able to create an LLC. Let's say they create a Delaware LLC instead of Maryland. Delaware is the Giga Chad of company states, right? Very good. Wyoming's also good. So is Nevada, but Delaware's pretty good. So they could create a Delaware company and assign it to a Delaware company. MSM could do that. Representation and warranties. Artists represents and warrants they are no longer under disability or prohibition from executing this agreement and performance thereof. This is interesting. So pay attention to the manager's representations. Artist further warrants and represents that no act and omission by the artist hereby will violate any right or liability of any person or any third party intellectual property rights. So you're not going to violate anybody's IP. You're going to play nice. Artist shall not violate the laws, and if applicable, agrees to obtain the licenses, permits, and consent. So the artist is saying the artist is going to get all necessary license, permits, and consents by any state, federal, or other governmental agency. Artist agrees to exert their best reasonable efforts to develop their career and cooperate with manager to the fullest extent in accordance with the terms herein to develop artist's career. Artist represents and warrants there are no agreements to which it is party that might conflict with or interfere, limit being consistent with, or affect any provision of this agreement. All right, here we go. Manager represents and warranties. It has authority to enter into this agreement. We're going to come back to this in a second. And to be a provider of the services listed in section 4 for the artist. Manager further represents it as the experience, capability, underline the word capability, and resources to perform the services in a professional, timely, and competent manner. Okay, this clause B is where we have a problem. Houston, we have a legal problem. This is the first place where we're going to come up with a big problem for these guys because they are actually not able to do this. Why? Why? Because they cannot enforce anything against other people. So they cannot bring actions in court. So how can they protect their talent if they cannot bring actions in court? They're not a real entity. So because they are not an entity that can actually protect their talents, they have no ability, no capability to do this. So they are in breach of contract. So what happens is, so for example, right now, and let's bring up the point here, right? So our boy Cabal brought up, and I'm brought up where he is right about this, right? So Cabal, who's one of their talents, right? The rampant misinformation, half stories, influencing myself and colleagues have been grossly insulting. Transparency is at the basis of our business relationship, which may be true with your relationship, but the problem is with the contract, right? So, he was posting, the law is renewed, and look, our laws are valid, our contracts are valid here, right? Yes, you, Cabal, can sue MSM, but they can't sue you. And right now, they're breaching your contract, homie. Right now, homie, they are in breach of contract. If you sued them, you would 100% win. Any member of talent right now, if you are a member, and I'll say this, Clippers, clip this. If you are a member of MSM Talent and you were unsatisfied with your contract, it appears based on this contract, if your contract is similar to the contract I'm looking at, which is this contract right over here, right? If this is a clause that you see in your contract, when you look at your contract, if you're seeing this provision that the manager is representing and warranting that they have the authority to enter into this and the capability and resources to perform the services, that is in breach. They have no ability to do that. They are not a real entity. If you wanted to sue them, you could. You don't have to. You don't have to. You could just say you're happy. You're happy doing business with a corporation which can do nothing for you because they can't bring a claim. They can advise you. They can do stuff, but they can't protect you in court. So maybe I misspoke there saying they do nothing for you. They can do things for you, but they're limited in what they can do for you. So can they pay you money that YouTube pays them? Sure. They can pay you money that YouTube pays them or Twitch pays them. Sure, they can do that. But let's say that someone was defaming you. Can they defend you in court? No, they cannot. They cannot. So is that something you want? That's a question for you. That's a question for you as a talent. Is that something you want? And if you wanted to leave your contract, you could do that without 30 days notice because, well, it is what it is. And they can't bring a claim against you if they're not an actual entity, right? Now, that'd be bad from a business standpoint, right? But could you? Well, seems like it if this is your contract. Fallen Hero, thanks for the 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you. Absolutely. 100%.
Not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
We are at 51 new members today. Thank you so much for the awesome 51. Really, really appreciate it. It helps support the channel and helps me do this on a regular basis, guys. So thank you for the memberships. Really dearly appreciate it. It also helps people get those access to the emojis in the members only stream. So let's continue. There's more. We're not done yet, guys. We're only on page 7. We got at least 4 more pages. Confidentiality. All right. Confidentiality. The parties now own and will develop compiled proprietary techniques, trade secrets, confidential information, which have great value. This is called the confidential information. Parties may disclose confidential information to each other during the performance of the services. Confidential information does not include only information disclosed by the parties, but also information developed or learned by the parties about the other businesses and its practices. It includes all information which has commercial value or utility. This is so broad. I know it's in every agreement, but it's always so broad. Everything has commercial value and utility. But anyways, of the unauthorized disclosure of, which could be detrimental to the interest of the disclosing party, whether or not such information is or has been identified as confidential information. Confidential information also includes any and all information concerning discoveries, developments, designs, improvements, inventions, formulas, software programs, procedures, techniques, know-how, data, research techniques, marketing, sales, whether financial or business information, scripts, derivatives, improvements, enhancements, to any of the above. Confidential information shall also include third-party information, which is in either party's possession under an obligation of confidential treatment. The parties shall at all times keep it confidential and not divulge, communicate, or use the confidential information of the other party without express written consent. So this is a mutual agreement. So both parties keep each other's secrets. Normal. The parties further agree not to cause the transmission and removal and transport of tangible embodiments of or electronic files containing confidential information without prior written approval of the originating party. The parties' obligations with respect to any portion of the confidential information shall not apply when the information is in the public domain, has entered the public domain, or was in receiving the party's possession fee of the obligation of confidence at the time it was communicated to the receiving party. It was also rightfully communicated to the receiving party free of any obligations subsequent to the time it was communicated between the parties. I'm just going to say here, one of the biggest risks about this contract not being valid, one of the biggest problems here, guys, and this is a huge problem for them, is that they have no ability to bring a claim in court to stop people from leaking their confidential information. So if somebody associated with, somebody leaks confidential information, this company, MSM, cannot bring an action in court to stop them from leaking that information. That information can just get out there because MSM can't bring the claim. So people can leak and they can't do shit. Is what I'm saying. Right now, any leak is fine. In fact, to the extent that they may include this contract, maybe they'll say, "Oh, this contract was confidential." No, it's not. It's not confidential because you can't enforce that. So anything that shows up can't be enforced because they can't enforce it. MSM can enforce it. You can enforce it. You can enforce it because they've made a covenant to you. So you, as the creator who signed this, you can enforce it against MSM, but they can't enforce it against you. That's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem. You guys seeing this? Are you guys seeing this, guys? There's 1,357. Are you seeing this? If you're seeing this, smash a like button. We got to get to 750. We're at 640. We're almost at 750. Smash the like button right now. Right now, guys. Get a little smash in there. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It feels good. And I know you guys are...
Degenerates. You guys degenerates.
I know you like to smash, so just go ahead and do that smashing now. No judgment. There's never any judgment on legal mindset. Just legal facts. All right? Just smash. All right. Next. Boop, boop. 9, indemnification. Up, here we go. Manager shall defend, indemnify, and hold harmless claims and cause of actions, liabilities suffered by either party arising out of connection with any negligent act or omission, intentional misconduct, or breach of this agreement by manager. What this means is this. Any fuck up that arises from this, you can sue them, you can hold them harmless, but guess what? They cannot bring any action to hold you harmless or to have that power of your indemnification. So right now, the manager is indemnifying the artist, but the artist is not effectively indemnifying the manager because they don't have a valid entity. Do you understand how much this liability puts on the company? The company has put in like an immense amount of liability on themselves here, right? An immense amount of liability on this. And Crimbo, I know you were saying this. I'm just saying I'm just backing it up. Just backing it up here. It's always good to have a lawyer back up what you're saying. All right, let's continue. Governing law, state of Maryland. The parties shall endeavor to resolve all matters amicably without need for a party. Should manager or artist be unable to resolve a dispute, the dispute shall be resolved by arbitration under the rules of the AAA, the Arbitration Association, by a single arbiter. They cannot force this. Because they are not a party, they cannot force this to arbitration. So this clause is null. No, unless the artist wants to voluntarily go to arbitration, they decide I want arbitration. And they decide to go, they could just tell them to fuck off because they're not an actual entity. So they can't be forced into this. This arbitration one is done. Now, it's smart to have an arbitration clause. This is smart, right? It's less than a lawsuit. So this is actually clever. I like arbitration clauses like this. But it's unenforceable right now, unless the artist wants to do it and the manager wants to do it. They both agree to it. But otherwise, artists can say fuck off. Miscellaneous. Artists acknowledges that they have the opportunity to consult with counsel. Paragraph headings are for guidance only and shall not have any effect. That's normal. As the context requires, terms in the masculine include the feminine and neuter, and terms in the singular include the plural. This is very normal for contracts. The agreement contains the entire understanding of the parties as to the subject matter thereof, and all prior agreements as to the subject matter have been merged herein. This agreement may not be altered anyway except by instruments signed by the parties. This is standard boilerplate language saying, hey, this is the whole agreement. There's no other secret agreements. This is it. The agreement may be signed in counterpart, facsimile, PDF, each of which is deemed to be an original, but all of which together shall constitute the agreement. This is true and normal, very, very standard boilerplate stuff. In the provision that an agreement, if any provision of this agreement is invalid, void, or unenforceable, the remainder of the agreement shall be in full force. So, for example, many sections here are now void because the manager is no longer a valid entity. So, because of this, Kimbo is right. There's certain parts of this contract that are invalid. But also, is Cabal right that the entire contract is not invalid? Yes. There are parts of this contract that are valid and enforceable. That is very true. That part Cabal is correct about. It's enforceable against MSM. Against MSM. Right? The manager here's the contact information. And what do we see here in the contact information? Seth at msm.fm, Seth at msm.gg. So we got Seth on the line here. Expiry or terminations agreements shall not release the parties from any liability right to action, which upon expiry or termination has accrued or may accrue. Expiry or termination shall not affect the coming into force or continuance of any provision hereof, which is expressly or by implication intended to come into force on or after such termination. And then you go ahead and you see the signature of Seth Weinstein, owner and talent manager of Mad Scientist Media, LLC. Client reads and agrees this in its entirety, and they acknowledge if they have any rights or questions on this agreement, they had the opportunity to review it by their attorney prior to execution. So there we go. That is the contract from Mad Scientist Media. Now, what's my rating? This is actually a pretty good contract. If the entity was legal, if the entity was valid, this would actually be a good contract. This is not Niji Sanji, people. So I'm just saying, like, this is actually a decent American style contract, which I think is not that problematic. So in terms of like contract terms, especially when you compare it to stuff like Niji Sanji. By the way, I told you guys this. I also have a confidentiality agreement. Now, this is not a confidentiality agreement that was between Mad Scientist and Talent. It was actually between a third party that was going to do work for the artist, and they wanted them to sign a document. And that is this one here. Let me open this up. Should be able to be opened right here. Okay. They wanted them to sign this confidentiality agreement. And you can see here that you've got this agreement with MSM Media Mad Scientist Media LLC, Maryland Corporation, and this is a confidentiality agreement. Now, it's nothing special. It's just a confidentiality agreement. There's no private information here, right, in this. It's all redacted, but it kind of confirms that this entity is the correct entity we're talking about, and that they've got a bunch of agreements hanging out there that now are questionable. But what is not questionable is Dark Horse Production becoming a member of the RPG. Welcome, Dark Horse Productions, as a member. Thank you. Beautiful Origin said, if they become an entity again, can they retroactively enforce these any of these problems? Yes, they can fix these things if they get in their good status. A lot of these things can be fixed retroactively. They can once again bring lawsuits if they are able to fix their status. So what I would say now there is, like, guys, if you're a member of MSM, what you need to do is you need to push them to get that entity fixed, right? You need to say, hey, fix the entity. Now, most of the liability is on MSM and not on the talent. But as a talent, you want the people you're doing business with to be a bit real business. You want to say, hey, can you please get your LLC fixed? Because, like, that's kind of important for us, right? That's kind of a vital thing. So get your LLC fixed. Right. So for MSM, for talent, you should definitely push for that. Val Rouge LaFox says, then isn't it the default of the owner that they didn't do their duty to ensure their business is an entity? So any talent can sue MSM because of fraud. It depends, like, whether or not they were defrauded is an individual case. We need to know facts about each person and when they signed, whether or not they were tricked. Were they told the truth? Were they not told the truth? Certainly Seth can be held liable. Under Maryland law, it appears, he admitted, it seems that if he was ever charged by their prosecution with that misdemeanor, he would be guilty. Seems like Seth, if he was charged of that, he would be guilty. It's a pretty straightforward thing. He's an officer. He's a person who signed the contract. If Seth was to be brought up by the Maryland attorneys, right, by the Maryland prosecutors, if they felt the need to bring that case, he would be guilty. He needs to fix that shit right away. If I were him, I'd be shitting myself and I'd be fixing that right away. I would call up the lawyers, call up the accountants, say, whatever you got to do to fix it, fix it. Here's the tax money, right? Here's the tax money, right? And Crimbo says he's going to call the comptroller. If they start paying attention to it, if people start making calls, Shit can happen. So I'm not encouraging anybody to do or not do anything. I'm just saying that this can become an issue. Just because it's not an issue yet doesn't mean it can't become an issue. But what isn't an issue is Carrie Duke dropping the 10 legal mindset memberships. What?
Hello, Peso Department.
Absolutely, base Carrie. Thank you so much for supporting that channel. Appreciate that, homie. Absolutely great. What improvements would you suggest? It's a good contract. Honestly, for what they do, it's a good contract. My suggestion is get your fucking entity fixed, bro. Like, that's the only thing. Get your entity fixed. Otherwise, it's a pretty good contract. The one thing I would put in there is if I really wanted to simp for the model, for the talent, for the VTubers, I would put in a specific clause that the model is always the property of the artist, because they're the ones bringing in the model. So the model is always theirs. That is something that I would personally put in there. However, I know that that could be that's something they might want to put in there. Just be clear. It would make it better. It would make it better. Make it more clear, right? Make it sure that they're getting their stuff. Shoryo said, we talk about agency VTubers a lot. Can we ever focus on what indie VTubers can do legally? I want to know that as an aspiring VTuber. Shoryo, you have a lot less issues as an indie. First of all, as an indie, a lot of the people that are engaged with this quote unquote agency might still consider themselves indies because they're not bound to an exclusive contract. They can go to a different company if they want to. So what indies need to focus on is individual contracts. So a lot of the things I'm looking at here, like for example, exclusivity clauses, you're going to need to worry about those. If your sponsor has an exclusivity clause, that's something you need to look at. That's something you need to worry about. One thing I can say though, Sho, is that you should always consult with somebody. If you can, consult with a lawyer, get them to quickly review your contract before you sign it. It's worth it. Even if the contract is like really simple, get somebody to look at it and say, hey, is this all right? Does this look all right to you? Right? Get somebody to look at it. Get somebody to look at it. But make sure the exclusivity clauses are there. Make sure what your responsibilities are, what your rights are, what your duties are. Make sure you understand your responsibilities. That's the biggest thing for indies. Indies have less issues, but once again, a lot of the people in this may consider themselves indies because it's not exclusive. They're not bound to this agency. They can go and do whatever they want else. This is not Niji level. This is much different. So, okay, you say you have a question about retroactive employment, but you didn't post the whole question. I gotta see if they. You should put a question, you put if they. There you go. But yeah, keep your local contract lawyer employed. Once again, you can get a contract reviewed quickly, easily, right? Easily. If somebody asks me to review a contract, if it's a short contract, I might do it for $100, $250. Once again, if you're planning to make tens of thousands of dollars on a contract, what the hell is $250 or $150, right? Ask a local attorney, right? They'll probably even do it for less. They'll probably do it for a beer, for a bottle of whiskey. So there you go. Someone on Legal Locals, Repton, said, couldn't they just stall if he sued them? How would he sue them, though? That's what I don't get. Like, he can't sue. So the LLC can't sue. Just answering the Locals question there. All right. Let's see what else we had here. What we had here, though, was a couple of clips that are courtesy of some of our viewers here. So let me play these for your viewing pleasure, right? For your viewing pleasure. So first we have Mint can't handle that conversation.
Sometimes it's all of them. And then if you intermarry enough, you get this trait where you actually resist inbreeding. It's really cool.
Wow. Wait,
yeah,
are they my cousin or my?
Sometimes it's all of them. And
so marry your cousins. You're gonna become resistant to inbreeding. Very good, very good, very good, very good note there. Okay, here's one on Fillion and some peanut butter.
What's this? These nuts
Let's see, we got up in this motherfucker.
Someone came in the mail today.
You actually unironically got me a jar of these nuts.
Yeah.
Can I open this? Is this peanut butter? I'm gonna try it. What is this? It's a candle? I just ate a candle. Wait, what is this?
Absolutely owned. I love it. Fululu said, thank you for the information clarification. I appreciate your transparency. Absolutely. And once again, Fululu, my objective with all of this is number one, to have fun, right? That's why I like to play clips. But is to have fun, but also give you guys legal facts, give you guys some education, and do it in a way in which people can understand, and do it in an even-handed way. And in this way, we can see how, yes, the contracts are still enforceable. The people that are former talent, if you have an issue with them, if you need to bring a claim, you can still bring a claim. But you just need to be thoughtful, right? Be very, very thoughtful about it. And also understand, look, if they're not paying you, yeah, go get your money. Definitely go get your money, right? Like you 100% need to go get your money if you're not being paid. I got a couple more here that are from my favorite, my homie Hypnotic and Rapture, who's always great keeping me stocked up with clips. But yeah, happy to help, Fu, and I hope this was helpful for everybody who wanted to check in on this topic. It's a really good one. Let's see what else we have here. We got a couple more clips, guys. You ready for this? A couple more clips. Let's start with Cinder's new embarrassing sound alert. Start all the way to the
I feel bad after slapping him. Thought he was breaking in my car.
Don't hit me like that, mommy! No! No, don't fight her! No! I can explain, Rita! The timing was so fucking good! I was trying to explain the lyrics to Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, and that's a funny part in the song. And I was joking, and I took it out of context, and now it makes me look so fucking bad!
Oh, classic. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I know you guys love it too, because I know you guys
You guys degenerates.
love you, and that's why I love you. Kid Loco said, "Filla is Filla." That's all. It is what it is. You know, I accept them all. I accept the waifus, no matter how menhera they are. I accept them. I accept them. Okay, this one's when the timing is so good, it silences the streamer. Let's go.
I'm not a shitter or a farter or shit and fighting. Little piss baby. Let's go.
Just absolutely felt it there. Love it. Okay, and we got another one here. This is a great one to kind of wrap it. It's with Voicemail with our girl Shondo. Oh, sorry.
Is that a boy I smell? Yes, I smell it. Boy smell. I smell a boy. What is the boy doing here? Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? There's a boy here. I'm freaking out so much. Calm down. Oh, calm down. Take a nice deep breath. It smells so good. Oh, I love boy smells so much. It makes me feel so amazing. I'm getting tingles all over from the delicious boy scent. It's driving me like crazy.
Absolutely 100% based. But that's it, guys. Really appreciate it, guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning, and then we're going to have a little break. and then we're gonna have a little break. It's gonna be a couple days break. I'm gonna be traveling, so there may be a day or two of break, but then I'll be back at it again. So we're gonna be back tomorrow morning, and that will be morning Asia time, so tomorrow evening. So same time as this stream, about the same time. Maybe it'll be a little bit later, like maybe be 10 instead of that. But yeah, we will be there, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I hope this was educational. I hope some concerns were answered. And yes, I'll say this right here. Nothing illegal in the contract itself, but there are problems here that need to be fixed. So the contract itself, not Niji Sanji level. This is not Kuro Sanji, but there are things that need to be fixed. Hopefully this is a lesson, not just for MSM, but a lesson for all of the VTuber community. Take care, stay based, and I will catch you all later. Locals, people. I'm doing a Locals exclusive live right now. So head over to Locals. We're going to do a local exclusive live right now. We're going to talk subscriber only for Locals. Head over there. And for everybody else, enjoy the
long